Alright, hello my little hoodlums. This is Rotten Vandal 92, and this is my first video onto YouTube. That's right, my first video. You see, I have some friends out there who just do not understand what I'm telling them to do and how to beat PT. So, I am making this video for them. Alright, you guys, here's what you do. Walk through the door when you start, yeah! I walked through the door. I looked around. I noticed that the paintings on the wall were shoddily done, or just done poorly. I spat on them. I spat on that one too. And then I barfed on this one. Alright. I looked at the light, gave it a kiss. And I walked down the hallway. It was 1 minute to midnight. I couldn't get that song out of my head now. Only it was 2 minutes to midnight in that song. I wondered why it was 2 minutes to midnight in that song. Apparently, his 6-year-old daughter had the good sense to hide in the bathroom, but reports suggested that he lured her out with candy and lollipops, which is also candy. I decided I was sick of this room, so I walked down the stairs to go into another room. As I entered, I had an extreme moment of deja vu. So I looked at the paintings that were strewn all over the wall, that were shoddily done poorly. I spat on them. And then I spat on that one. And then I barfed on the other one. It was still 1 minute to midnight. I realized that the deja vu had completely taken over me for a second there. So I looked at this other painting in order to break it. I looked at this painting. It was the letter U. I didn't know that this was being sponsored by Sesame Street. I walked down the hall again. Looked down the hall. The door was closed. I didn't know why. As I walked up to the door, I thought about my wife. Like, what was that she was looking at? It turned out it was just a receipt from the U.S. Bank. I banged my head against the door because I was stupid and I had no idea what to do. So, instead, I turned around, spat on a painting. Someone was knocking on the door in the bathroom, probably because they couldn't take it anymore. I told them, "Don't worry, I'll get you some TP. I'll be back. First, I need to go back to the other apartment." The banging stopped. I was filled with worry. Could the fumes have knocked them out? I decided to rush the door. To no avail. I decided that this door was very sexy looking, so I started to fuck it. Then I realized I was on a mission. I had to come back for it later. I love you, baby. Jiggle that doorknob handle for me. Oh yeah. I walked back, thinking that there was no other way for me to go. I looked at this painting. Or perhaps it was a photograph. I thought, who did this? Was it Picasso? Because I'm pretty sure he's a better artist than this. And this is a photograph. I avoided my wife in real life who was trying to make me laugh, when in reality I was trying to make everyone else laugh. She burped, looked at me, and smiled. I looked up at the light. "Ow, my eyes," I said. So then I walked back down the fucking stairs, you know. Walked through the door, and another moment of deja vu happened. I decided to spit on the... No, I didn't.
How long is the walkthrough? Like, how long does it take to beat the game?
I heard voices in my head. They were asking me how long it takes to beat the game. I had no idea what they were talking about, as I was actually trying to get out of this place. As soon as I turned the corner, the banging that I did not mention, but I was really trying to mention, had stopped. I walked up. There was a lot of cockroaches everywhere. And then something happened. I fell in love. I knew that this cockroach and I would be together forever.
Oh, geez.
And that the door would be okay with it, because the door is freaky like that.
Can I, like, use it? Huh?
So I decided that because the cockroach in the door would be cool with threesome, I'd walk by But then suddenly, banging happened on the door. Someone was crying inside. They were having severe troubles pushing out that poop. Don't worry, it's okay. All you have to do is sit and push, and somewhere along the line you take your pants off. It's okay. I'm here. I'm here for you. I said as I banged my door. As I banged my head against the door. I had already banged the door a while ago. I needed to realize that I was on a mission to help my friends. I looked at this picture, didn't like it, so I walked away. I had dreams of vandalizing that picture in the future. Another moment of deja vu happened, but I ignored it because I kind of expected it by this point. I couldn't tell what this was a picture of. Perhaps a bar, perhaps a kitchen. Didn't care. This gameplay was brought to you by the letter U for You're Gonna Die. I thought to myself, what the hell am I thinking of gameplays for right now? I need to get the hell out of here. So I kept walking. I looked around. Nothing seemed to have changed. Everything was right where it needed to be. So I walked down the hall to go through the door. But then suddenly, the door closed on its own. I rushed it, and nothing happened. But I heard the door behind me open up. I walked back, but I was hesitant when I saw that multiple cockroaches couldn't even stand the smell. And cockroaches don't have noses. I plugged my nose and started walking slowly towards the door. As I got closer, I heard the sound of babies. And I thought, does someone have a baby in there? It couldn't be. I looked in closer, and suddenly jumped back, because I could have sworn that I saw Kim Kardashian in there without makeup on. I walked back towards the door, the one that I didn't fuck. The one that I kept headbutting. And then I walked out. Just as I suspected, everything was the same. Again, all the neighbors had their homes decorated the same way. Cockroaches everywhere. Always 1 minute to midnight. The song constantly being stuck in my head. I saw a painting on the wall next to a cockroach that I thought was the sexiest of them all. It said, "My voice, can you hear it? This sign, can you read it? I'll wait forever," but then it disappeared. "I'll wait forever if you'll just come to me." I realized that this picture was demolished. I looked at the cockroach and asked, "Do you know what's wrong with this?" And it told me what the picture said. It said, "My voice, can you hear it?" And then it shut up. Because I could hear it, and I didn't wanna. I found a piece of picture in the potted plant, and some random words popped up on my eyeballs. I found another picture, and more random words. I couldn't exactly read them because I couldn't speak the language that it was. I walked up over here and found another piece of the picture. I was like, "Oh, yeah." And I thought, I wonder if there's any down this hallway. And before I could walk, there she was. Lisa. "Lisa!" I called out. "Lisa, baby!" And then she was gone. Just like that. But I could still hear her voice. I hesitantly walked forward. The load in my pants had already been there. Because I had already crapped my pants before even coming to this building. I looked up at the ceiling, found another piece of the puzzle. A picture. Whatever. I walked closer, and then the lights came on. Suddenly there were cockroaches everywhere. I don't know why cockroaches like living here with me. For I don't have a cock myself. I looked around, saw nothing. Decided that I needed to keep going. As I walked down the stairs to go into the other room, I noticed that there was another piece of picture right there. I looked at it, and it disappeared into my pocket. Walking out the door, another deja vu, as suspected, happened. I kept walking down the hallway. I looked at the paint. I kept calling it a painting because I was an idiot. I looked at the photograph, and there was still a piece of it missing, and that was the woman's eye. The woman looked like a teacher I had in 3rd grade. I couldn't believe it, but it looked exactly like her. I was like, Mrs. Dingleson? Is that you? And then when the painting didn't become a painting, and it was a photo, and it didn't respond to what I just said, I assumed that it was just annoyed that I kept calling it a painting. In the real world, I had to take a dump, so I paused the game. But what was this? I looked over closely at the brightness options, and I found the last piece of the picture. And just overjoyed that I called it a picture again, I exited out of the pause screen and held in my dump. I looked at the photograph, and for sure it was my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Dingleson. Mrs. Dingleson was somewhere in this house. I had to save her because I still needed to learn basic math, and my cursive was not at my best. The bathroom door opened. I looked inside and saw a flashlight. I picked it up. It was really gooey. I guess that the person that was in here before, who was laughing, was playing with themselves with this. The door closed behind me, and I was worried. I looked around. Nothing in the tub but water and blood and death. Nothing in the toilet but shit and cockroaches and cockroach shit. I looked at the sink, and I couldn't believe my eyes. There it was. The end result of when a woman loves a jerky. I heard a door open outside. The baby started to cry, and I heard footsteps. I was ready to fight with all my might. I looked at the door, expecting something to happen, and sure enough, the door handle was moving. I shat my pants a little extra. By this time, I was about 40 more pounds overweight, because the shit in my pants was making me over-encumbered, just like in Fallout, just like in Skyrim. I looked at the baby and screamed at it, "Shut up, baby! You shut your mouth! Shut your mouth! You're a baby that's made from jerky!" That seemed to work. I looked up at my face, but couldn't find it, and the door opened. I looked at the door, longingly, wanting to put my wiener in its keyhole. But instead, I just opened the door. So I looked around, expecting to see someone, but I didn't see anybody. I could only feel the moist squishiness in my pants as I walked forward, trying to forget what just happened. Hopefully, that jerky baby would be okay. I decided to name him Donathan. That's right, I went with the name Donathan. I walked through to the next room, hoping that Donathan would be okay. Then I just heard some weird breathing in my ear. It was still a minute to midnight, and I was all, what the fuck? And Podoroff was all like, ha ha ha, what the fuck? I kept walking forward, expecting to find a candy bar, and indeed, I did. It was an Oach-style candy bar. Turns out you can't trust the tap water, as there is semen in the supply. So I decided to just not drink any water while I was here. I didn't want to anyway, so I kept moving forward. I was notified that a friend had joined a party. I didn't care, because I was doing something. I found the painting that wasn't a painting, and it was actually a photograph. And then I slapped myself in the face, because I didn't want it to be a fucking painting in my mind. I listened to the radio tell me to look behind me, but then I flipped it off with my invisible hand. I looked at the photograph that I didn't like and thought, boy, vandalizing this thing would be great. So I did. It was bloody for some reason and oozed. Suddenly, the door opened. 204-863. That was my prison number when I was in prison. I remember Bubba. Bubba had a nice ass. But I couldn't dwell on good times as I heard Donathan crying. I rushed over to go find Donathan. It was still a minute to midnight, and this game was still brought to you by the letter U. Was still confused as to why this was a game, because this was not a game. I was thinking about games, but this was actually the real world. I kept getting notifications on and off. The door to Donathan was closed. I was worried about my little baby jerky boy. I proceeded to fuck the door. To no avail. I got splinters everywhere. I was interrupted by a crash. I looked at the glass on the wall and on the ground and I said, "You motherfucker, how could you?" I looked up at where it was supposed to come from. There was nobody there. I looked around and there she was. The vision of my dreams. "Come back, baby," I screamed. But she didn't listen. She was shy like that. I looked at the painting. And then I looked at the photograph. See? Like I said, I looked at the painting, and then I looked at the photograph. And I noticed that in this picture, she was missing an eye, and the other eye was dark black. That's right, dark black. I could hear her playing with herself, which was strange because I had the flashlight that she was using before, goo still dripping on it. I looked up over the door, and it said, "Forgive me, Lisa. There's a monster inside of me." I laughed under my own breath because it made me think of monster porn. So I walked out of the door because this is serious. I needed to help my friends. I walked down the hall again, brought to you by the letter U. I didn't know what to expect. A friend had joined a party, and I was not interested in that. A little smile came up on my face, knowing that I was being entertaining. Podorov could not help but laugh. I took a piece of candy and offered it to him. He said nothing for the next 15 seconds because of delay. I walked down the hall, noticed that there was a red light, and the fridge had been strung up on the ceiling. There was stuff gooping out of there, and I knew what it was. Someone, or something, had forgotten to take the bacon out. The bacon was just sitting in there, slowly growing life. My wife in real life said ew, but I ignored it. I read the wall, and it said, yeah, I read the wall. I read the wall, and it said, "I can hear them calling to me from." And then I thought, from where? Where could it be from? Where could this possibly be coming from? I got underneath and opened my mouth. It was disgusting, because it got in my eyes instead. I said after I burped. I looked at this painting, or picture, could not really tell what it was, and thought that it was a bird flying next to a glitch. Or a bird with a birth disorder, or whatever. Disfigurement. I walked down to go to the next room, laughing at that monster cock joke again. The room was all red. It was quiet. Except for the screaming baby. I was worried that it might have been Donathan. "Donathan!" I called out. The door to Donathan's room was open. I looked in to see if he was okay. It wasn't him crying. Now I was even more worried. I tried to look at my face, but the mirror thought I was so ugly that it decided to rust over. I walked down. Suddenly, the refrigerator started to go crazy. The bacon inside had become sentient. I wanted some of that bacon still. Even though it was sentient, I knew that it wanted to be in my tummy. It still turned out that I could still hear them calling me from. I didn't know what to do, so I went back, and I looked at the wall and saw the word hello. And I just finished the sentence. Is it me you're looking for? Then I had to sing it. Hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see it! I stopped and paused and didn't move. all three at the same time. I noticed that the L was missing. I looked away and went like, what the fuck? Then I looked back, and all of a sudden it said H-Lo, which would be Jennifer Lopez's future descendant. It would be Hubert Lopez. Hubert Lopez would be known as H-Lo. How did this wall know that? How? I asked the flowers. How? I looked back. Now it just said Lo. Because he would suddenly decide to destroy his first name and just be known as Lo. Which I thought was stupid as hell. I decided to walk away because I wasn't having this shit. I looked back and screamed, I ain't having that shit. It didn't listen to me. But somebody thought I was pretty damn funny. I can hear them calling me from hell. I had been to hell before. It's a place in Jamaica. It's nice. My dad and I took a picture when I was about 12 years old. But only 12. Back when I didn't know that the Easter Bunny was in fact Michael Jordan. I continued walking. It was now 12 o'clock. I needed to get home because my soap operas were on. As I walked through the valley where I harvest my grains, I took a life. That's right, took a life. I took a life away and killed him. For a second, you thought I was going to try to do a Weird Al Yankovic song. But then again, I realized, who are you? Who am I? The radio was turned to some satanic channel. I looked at it and flipped it off with my invisible finger. The light swinging back and forth was making me pretty horny. I kept looking at it as I had a thing for inanimate objects, although this one was pretty animate, which was making it even more kinky than it could have been. I realized, though, that I do have a mission. I'm helping my friends. I'm saving them from disaster. Suddenly, I turned into the Flash and ran, psychedelically. The lights were all red, and the eyeballs were all looking at me. They wanted a piece of my ass, and I was going to give it to them. I stopped for a second because I was fucking drugged. I knew I was on drugs. Suddenly, I looked down. There was a painting on the floor. It was looking at me like as if to say, why? Why am I here? Blink, 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 blink. I was winning multiple staring contests. I looked up, and there was a hole. I thought that there might be something about to poke me in the eye, and it wouldn't be something that I'd want to poke me in the eye, but I looked in anyway. Thankfully, this was not a glory hole. I listened. Now's the time for action. I couldn't see the jerky baby. I could hear death happening in the other room. Someone screamed and was cut off by a meat cleaver. And then, suddenly, nothing. And I looked up over the hole. No turning back now. Which would have been a funny thing to have written over a glory hole. Which I'm sure is now somewhere else, now that this is happening in here. I could finally walk. I wanted to check what was in the bathroom. I was a little scared. As I walked in, I noticed that...
Fired, so you drowned your sorrows in booze. She had to get a part-time job working a grocery store cash register. Only reason she could earn a wage at all is the manager liked how she looked in a skirt. You remember, right? Exactly 10 months back.
I decided to ignore that and assume that I was just tripping balls. Because jerky babies can't talk.
You got fired, so you drowned your...
And then I walked in and found out that yes, they can. So I walked away as quickly as I could, even though I can't walk quick at all. I didn't know that he'd start talking again if I walked back in. How was I supposed to know? He had told me what he needed to tell me. Donathan was growing up. Or was he? Maybe he was just... Because he was half beef jerky, perhaps he was only sentient jerky. I shrugged it off and just kept walking. I noticed that the lights were off over there. I didn't care. I was a manly man. I had a great big ball sack hanging below. So I walked down the stairs, and I noticed that the words were gone, saddened by the fact that I couldn't make a monster cock joke anymore. And I was back in the normal life. It was midnight, and I was happy, because now I could go upstairs and find the TV. Or could I? It was raining outside. That would mean that I'd have to fix the satellite. Or cable, whatever I had. Suddenly, my eyes started to glitch. I knew I shouldn't have gotten that implant when I was at the doctor's, because it wasn't very helpful. Sometimes I would get random porn popping up on my eyeballs, and ads galore. Friends added me on Facebook. I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't leave. Torrengar scared me with a boo, and I crapped my pants. Even more. I was now 50 pounds overweight. I couldn't see straight anymore. I started to glitch out and hear more voices.
04863.
The numbers were wrong. It wasn't my address. It was my prison number. When I was an inmate, I tried to walk away. Torrengar told me hi. I couldn't listen for the moment, as I was trying to hurry and leave and leave. I passed out, and I woke up looking at a computer screen and bowling ball pins. Or were they bowling ball pins? Maybe they were just bowling ball holes. I found out that I was in the 7780s studio. I had remembered that I did in fact collect all the photo pieces, and noticed that it was my teacher from 3rd grade. As I awoke, I noticed that maybe it was all just a dream. Maybe I passed out in my garage without noticing it. I got up slowly, and then I turned on the goopy flashlight. I stopped, because I realized that this flashlight was extra goopy. I looked around. Maybe there was something that I didn't see in here. Then I found it. My tuna fish sandwich. So hungry. I looked at it, longingly, lustfully, planning on putting my dick in that sandwich. Then, suddenly, nothing happened. But then suddenly, But then suddenly, I turned around and walked out the door, because for some reason, what I expected to happen didn't happen. Mostly I didn't get jumped. I was really hoping I would get jumped too. I looked around, not knowing whether I should move or not. Decided that now would be the perfect time to scratch my nuts. Yeah. Oh, that feels good. Oh, man. Man, these things are sweaty. Dear God. Oh. I think I got him. Okay. Okay. I had finished scratching my nuts, but didn't know what else to do, so I decided to scratch my ass. Oh, fuck yeah. My fingers got tangled in the hairs. I ripped out some hairs, let out a shrill ow, but then re-established my manlyhood. I heard the thing, and as soon as it was done, I knew that I had to take 10 steps forward. Like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The baby was proud that I could count very well. So I asked him, Donathan, won't you laugh some more? I decided to change his name to Jareth. Jareth, will you laugh? Laugh with me, little baby. Laugh. Oh, Jareth, I love you, little boy. In a platonic way. The baby thought that was funny, that I mentioned platonic when he was just a baby. And it didn't even have an anus, so I couldn't love it in any sensual way either. My controller started vibrating. I placed it against my crotch. Felt good, but then it ended. I didn't know what to do. Was I supposed to stop putting it against my crotch? The baby thought that talking about my crotch was funny. Then suddenly, I was getting a phone call. I was prepared for telemarketers, so when I picked it up, I screamed, "Fuck you, you dirty little penguin."
You've been chosen.
I was confused, as I didn't know what I'd been chosen for. Perhaps I had gotten that job, and I decided that enough was enough. I said goodbye to Donathan, changing his name back to Donathan because it was a lot nicer. I love you, boy. Even though you freak me right the fuck out. I walked back. I could still hear them calling me from hell, and I still wanted to vandalize that picture even more. For you see, gouging out its eyeball and writing down "gouge it out" with a big blue X wasn't enough for me. I walked out the door to end the game. That's right. This whole time, it really was a game. For you see, I was okay the entire time.
Dad was such a drag. Every day he'd eat the same kind of food, dress the same, sit in front of the same kind of games. Yeah, he was just that kind of guy. But then one day he goes and kills us all. He couldn't even be original about the way he did it. I'm not complaining. I was dying of boredom anyway. But guess what? I will be coming back, and I'm bringing my new toys with me.
I had this innate sense that perhaps I had not seen the last of Donathan. As I walked through the valley where I harvest my grains, I took a look at my life and realized it was very plain. But that's just perfect for an Amish like me. You see, I shun fancy things like electricity. So why was I using this flashlight? And where did I get these kick-ass boots? Questions that had not been answered. They concerned me. Hideo Kojima came into mind, but I knew that he was in South Compton at the moment, blowing some coke off a hooker's belly. And when I say blowing, I mean snorting. Guillermo del Toro was back at the house, and then I discovered that I didn't have my crossbow. I decided fuck it, and just decided to keep on walking. I noticed my name off in the distance. Then it disappeared. And then the word "in." Then everything went white. Whiter than a Tennessee Valley girl. And the word "Silent Hill" came up on the screen. I had figured out that I was in a playable teaser, and I was doomed to do this until the game came out. I thanked everyone who had decided to come and watch this video. Told them to hit that follow button if they felt like it, or to just drop by and give me a little kiss every now and then. As for the people who were watching this on YouTube, I told them that if you decide to subscribe, just remember that even a vandal, though he may be rotten, can smell like cheddar cheese. I decided to break character and just laugh my ass off. Ha! 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 Good night, everyone. Have a good one. I love you all.